This is a fantastic exercise for honing your stroke, but I can tell you through experience and coaching that even a beginner can do this with a little bit of practice. This is not putting, this is just the putting stroke. So if you want to be able to develop all the skills that are involved in becoming a good putter, and I'm talking about the hidden skills of being able to read greens, keep our attention in the right place, deal with anxiety, and all the things around putting, then we need to know how to practice it. So I've created an online course called True Putting. Head to my website, which is golfcoach.online, and you'll be able to access the first module for free. This is the concept of the zero line idea to help us read greens, and it's helped me massively. The thinking behind it is the maths behind the TV animations where they plot the lines so well. It's the thinking behind aim point and putting vector green reading systems, and the way it works is like this. If we imagine, and I know that's not always the case, that the slope is planar, which basically means it's one continuous slope and doesn't have, you know, lots of individualized kind of localized borrows, and that normally is the case, by the way, around the hole normally. Then once we know where a dead straight putt is, we should have a pretty good idea how the ball will curve at any location around the hole. So let me explain what I mean by that. This putt is on the zero line. Zero break line is the full phrase. Some people call it the fall line. If this putt is dead straight, which it is, the further I move away from this putt, the more curve it's going to have. Sorry, the further I move away from the zero line. So this putt's dead straight. I'll go ahead and hit it in a minute. As I move to this ball, I'm not on that zero line, it has to curve, assuming the green's not flat. We know this is not flat. So this ball will curve a little bit. It will curve from say here. As I move further away from the zero line, I start to get round to this kind of point which is perpendicular. This ball will curve more than that ball. As I get right the way around to this point where I'm at right angles to the zero line, this ball will have maximum curve. Again, it depends on the severity of the slope, but once we know how the others curve, this one becomes much easier. Now I move around this way, I'm getting closer to the zero line on this side, but because it's downhill, it's faster, it curves more relative to the others. So this ball and this ball will curve the same. As I get closer now to that zero line, this ball will curve less, and this ball will be straight. Of course, once we cross the zero line, these balls are going to start to work left to right, but in the same pattern. So a little bit left to right, more left to right, a lot left to right, a little bit less, until we converge back here on that zero line. So let's put that to the test. I'll hit a few putts, and we'll see if we can hole a few. Okay, so this one's on the zero line. Should be no excuses for not holing this one. Okay, reasonably straight. So if what we're saying is true, this ball will curve ever so slightly from the right. I'll aim this one at the right edge. I think I may have pulled that slightly. Let's try that again. Okay, this one is definitely more outside the right edge. In fact, I'm going to aim this one kind of over that way. And sure enough, that had 2 or 3 inches of break. This ball then curves more than the last. This ball will have, I don't know, 3 inches of curve on it at the right speed. A little bit hard maybe. This ball again will have a lot of curve. It's downhill. And sure enough, at the right speed, it's managed to curve. And this ball now will have slightly less curve, because again, we're getting closer to that zero line. And this one would be straight. Whew, just hung it in on the left edge. As we cross, same pattern, but now working left to right. How do we use that system? Well, first of all, we need to do lots of drills that really help us build that database of how a ball curves relative to the zero line. So that's the assassin drill, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then when we're on the golf course, you'll be surprised how easy it is to find where dead straight is. So I'll look at a hole like this. Even if I'm putting from distance, the main part of my read is going to be around the hole. So I'll look at a hole and I'll try and find dead straight, and I'll do that by looking at it. I might use my feet a little bit, understanding where my weight is. This feels left to right. As I move around this way, oh, that starts to look right to left. So I then start to converge somewhere in the middle until it looks dead straight. Of course, we never know where exactly the dead straight is, but it's as best a read as we can make. Again, once I know where dead straight is, wherever my ball is around that kind of circle, I'll have a pretty good idea how it will curve. You also have the massive benefit of watching your playing partner's putt. Now, obviously, if they're on your line, well, that's a huge benefit. But even if they're not on your line, once you have this experience of putting relative to the zero line and you see their ball curving in, it should give you a lot of information as to how your ball will curve because of your understanding of how all that works. So we need to understand the concept. I think it's fairly simple, but then we need to put in lots of time working these kind of circle drills.